Hi folks, this is All the Fruit and welcome to this year's Borneo Wilderness Survival Challenge. You might ask, what wilderness survival? You are in a meticulously maintained park. There are buildings around you, apparently there are people around you. Well, I'm here in Tenem Agricultural Park, the best place for foraging in all of Borneo because it has a great fruit collection of rare fruits. And just like last year, the survival part is kind of unintentional. Last year, the little coffee shop or like tiny restaurant was opened very rarely, sometimes like for 1 or 2 hours in the morning. So most of the time I had to survive on foraged fruits. Also, the kiosk was open only very rarely. So most of the time for water I had to survive on coconuts. Also, the nice security guys here, still don't know if they maybe sometimes like to sell things to stranded tourists here, because there are a lot of accommodations in the park, but no food or water. When I asked them, what shall white men eat, what shall white men drink, their answer was all the time, white men eat fruits, white men drink coconut. So I did this kind of survival challenge, but about once every 1.5 days, I was able to get some food, like cooked food like rice and noodles and vegetables and eggs, and sometimes I was able to get water from the kiosk. This year I came prepared. I brought a lot of drinking water. Also, the kiosk is open quite regularly. They even serve coffee, but they don't serve food. So this year I have enough water. I have coffee for my addiction, but no additional food at all. For 2 days and a bit more, I'm gonna be surviving only on the fruits I forage. That shouldn't be difficult. For me, it's not a difficulty at all to survive on fruits when there is the durian season, because durian for me is basically a full meal. However, if you look around, the grass is dry, the trees are losing leaves. We are in a pretty nasty El Nino situation, which means that we've had no rain for weeks in a rainforest climate. We are not in the fruit season anyways, but even outside the fruit season there would be some fruits. There are a few fruits around here because they have been hit pretty hard by the drought. So I also have accommodations where I can stay. Yeah, I have accommodation, I have water, I have electricity. And the only additional nutrients I'm going to be getting are going to be from the sugar in the coffee. Apart from that, I have to survive on fruits. I have this more or less informal permit by the park's security. Yeah, white men eat fruits, white men drink coconuts. But I also have the permits from the 3 different bosses of the park. Miss Edna, the current manager, Mr. Linton, the former manager, who is now her boss, and Mr. Wong, who was the manager or director before Mr. Linton. Unfortunately, the first director/manager who created this park, Mr. Anthony Lamb, has passed away recently, so I was not able to meet him this time. Very sad about this. But I hope I will honor his legacy by foraging as many fruits in this park as I can and proving that you can actually survive on what he created even outside the fruit season and even during a very dry El Nino event. But let's see how the fruit orchard is. Because if you have a collection of well over 100 different fruit species, something will be ripe even outside of the fruit season. Well, for example, the Brazilian rubber tree is ripe. The seeds are kind of edible, and before colonialism, the edible seeds seem to have been the main treat, the main reason this thing was cultivated by the Native Americans and not the latex. And there is a bumper crop here, so for outside of the fruit season, so many tasty, edible, nutritious, big nutritious seeds are quite a treat. However, this thing is in the Euphorbiaceae, a notoriously poisonous plant family. So you have to cook it before you eat it. Hi folks, this is all the fruit and I'm in Tenom Agricultural Park, my favorite place for fruit hunting in all of Borneo. However, like last time, there are a couple slight handicaps. Like last year when I was here, we don't have a fruit season right now. And this year, the situation is really grim. Some people are talking about El Nino. I still haven't seen an official statement about that. But it's possible. It's extremely dry. There are bushfires in many areas around here. And in the dry season, in the tropical rainforest climate, there are very few fruits. Also, it seems that the food kiosk in the park is closed permanently. And since the only way to get to town is by using some transport provided by scammers, well, I'm gonna stay here about 3 days. So, foraging it is. What about the star apple? A lot of dried up fruits lying on the ground and a lot of small immature fruits hanging from the tree. However, there seems to be over there are bigger fruits hanging from the tree. Oh yeah. Well, you might be big. Oof. But you're a bit dry and shriveled up. Nothing edible here. I saw one fruit which looked like it was edible just a couple days ago. So there is hope. However, most of the branches are far too high for picking the fruits. Whatever, star apple is not my favorite. I like all the Artocarpus so much more. Artocarpus is not simply a fruit, it's a means of sustenance in Southeast Asia. Jackfruit, tarap, champedak and many others. And usually when I come here the ground is littered, you have to be careful where you step. Everything is smelling of giant rotten fruits. But right now, even out of season, I found a lot of fruits here, but nothing now, except for the trusty jackfruit. The jackfruit, doggies. The jackfruit is a non-seasonal fruit, so even now there are a couple fruits. Those are in a state where I could make a curry out of them if I knew how to make a curry out of them. Oh, lucky me. Even the champedak has a couple fruits. And I smell this fruit here is ripe. This one isn't, but this here is. Right now I'm still not ready for an incredibly sweet fruit like the champedak. It's like jackfruit, but 5 times more aromatic and 5 times more sweet. But I'll come back in the day. However, I shouldn't wait too long. The local squirrels and the other wildlife are also accommodated by the lack of fruits. And yeah, they might be faster than me. The African breadnut, a giant Artocarpus relative from Africa. However, it doesn't produce any nuts or seeds. Because as Anthony Lamb, the first director of the park, told me years ago, he managed to get only one single seed, and so he got only one female tree. Unfortunately, the guy who created all this, Dr. Anthony Lamb, he passed away just a couple weeks ago. I learned of that only recently. I met him only once, great guy. The guys who were directors of the park after him are all also great guys, but of course it's an incredible sad thing for the person who created this to pass away. Well, the part of the fruit collection was actually here before the park was created, because we are inside the giant agricultural research station. But still, 95% of what you see in this park is his making. But there is a squirrel. Those pesky little animals. They munch on pretty much all the fruit. They even eat poisonous stuff like ackee. I don't know if they survive it, but when ackee was in season, I found traces on the seeds that they have been nibbled by squirrels. Also 3 durian trees. Of course we are not in the season. Of course there is no durian around. What about the different rare guavas they have in the park? Sour guava, nope. Even last year outside the fruit season, this thing reliably had some fruits. Now they're all lying rotten on the ground. A couple more star apples, but there is nothing on the ground which looks like it was edible recently. Snake fruit. Oh, look at that. There are a couple fruities here. Oh, this is the red jungle snake fruit. No. This is something. Yeah, could be the red jungle snake fruit. It's usually very sour, but now it's ripe. Ripe, sweet and aromatic. Oh. Come to daddy, little babies. Not you. You are unripe. Ow. But those here. And look, here is another small hidden bunch. I guess the fruit bunches are small because of the drought. So sweet. This is the best snake fruit ever. Oh, a sampaya. I think this is what Eleodoxa conferta. The name of these things literally means sour swamp fruit. Yeah, it's one of the most sour fruits you can find. At least the amount of tourists has increased. Well, it's Friday, so for the Muslims it's basically the weekend. But I'm happy to see more tourists here. Last year there were a lot more gardeners than visitors in the park. Velvet apple. It's not an apple, it's a kaki relative. Most kaki relatives have disgusting fruits and are more famous for timber than for fruits, but the velvet apple is one of the good ones, however. This one is already tasting of alcohol. Well, when they get too soft, it's too late, but this one is still a bit hard. Yeah, this one is good. The flavor is a little bit strange, like a little kid who put their pants. But apart from that, it's a big, sweet and juicy fruit. Yeah, if you don't like my description of the flavor, go taste it for yourself. Nice sweet and juicy fruit. Just with a strange flavor. Yeah, already turning sour. All the big fruits where you can get a lot of flesh are turning sour. Also, I don't like the velvet, just like I don't like the velvet of peaches, but prefer nectarines. But it's a good fruit. Definitely a good addition to every tropical fruit garden. You might get the impression that there are many apples around here. We have the wood apple and the bale fruit. This is the bale fruit. This is again the bale fruit. I like to plant them next to the wood apple, which is not an apple, but which is quite similar to the bale fruit, only even more woody. Here is the wood apple. Those are relatives of citruses, actually. They're in the Rutaceae family. The fruits are really tough, and the taste is not too great. In Sri Lanka they like to eat them a lot, but here you see they're fruiting profusely and nobody is really into them. Here somebody broke one. That's what it looks like. I don't want to try it now. It doesn't have a pleasant aftertaste. Wood apple is like the bale fruit, but a lot more woody. And despite them being in different genera, I've seen trees and fruits in other botanic gardens, which seem kind of something in between of those two. So those are a little bit enigmatic to me. And pity they are not so tasty. Well, here is a close relative of bale fruit and wood apple. It's the pomelo. However, this one's not good anymore. And it's the only one I'm seeing on the ground. Oh, and look at that, mocambo. That's a species of cocoa. It's actually very tasty. It seems they have fruited a lot. The ground is littered with them. Here are the two trees. However, they seem to be suffering, losing even the leaves, and there are no more fruits on the trees. They have all been dropped. Also, people here have means of watering the park, but they cannot water it too much. This is a rainforest climate, so the park was built with a rainforest climate in mind. It's like this: when you build a park, you calculate how much you have to water it. And if you have to water it more than you've calculated for, it's possible that your watering system comes at its limits. Not only in the rainforest, I know, for example, Cactus Aldea, a big cactus park in Gran Canaria. Well, they were used to occasional rains in their semi-desert areas, so the cacti and other succulents usually got enough water. They could water a little bit, but they did not have a big watering system in all the park to water constantly. After a couple years of drought, even the cacti and succulents there don't look very good anymore. So always be careful, folks, when you're constructing the watering system for a park. Just, how shall I say, make it a little bit more potent than you think you'll ever need it. Otherwise, yeah, your park might suffer. Kasturi lime, a very popular lime here. To put it, it's even more popular in Thailand, I think. You receive one fruit with every dish to use it as a lime. However, when it gets really ripe, it's sweet like a tiny mandarin. Here the famous, fabled, super rare blue durian, or durian kura kura, turtle durian. Of course, because of the drought, the season is over. But It must have been in season quite recently. Oh no, those are no durian kura-kura. Durian, the kura-kura durian has almost no spines. And as you can see, this one, that's why it's called the turtle durian, because turtles also don't usually have spines. But this one is a very spiny one. Duri means spine. So I think either it's a very underdeveloped durian that got dropped before the final shape could evolve. This might be because there is another one lying here. And there are a couple of peduncles up there. Either it got dropped before its spineless shape could evolve, or they just raked a couple durians from the neighboring tree under this one. Well, durian competes with mango in one aspect of being the king of fruits. They have a nice mango collection here. However, when you look under the trees, you don't see much. What is this? No, this is just a bale fruit that came here, not an apple mango or something like this. Cannot see a single good mango lying down here. Just one really shriveled up. It's so sad. The first time I came to this park, it was an explosion of the fruit season. The second time, it was still quite good. Don't remember how it was the third time, but when I came last year, it was a bit meager, but this year I really have to scrape the bottom. Nah, don't worry, I'm a fruit hunter, I'm gonna survive. Also look at all those bananas I cannot eat anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4 bunches, they all rotted away. Good thing is I brought sufficient drinking water this time, because I kinda depleted the easy coconut supplies in the park last year. Of course they have been replenished, but still it was sometimes kind of a slight dehydration game last year. This year I can concentrate on food because, yeah, I have my water here in bottles. Well, if you need food and rely on fruits, the egg fruit is one of your biggest friends. Not only does it look like egg yolk inside, it is also incredibly rich in proteins and fats and other things. So, in a lot of poor South American countries, the egg fruit and other fruits of the genus Puteria being kind of used as an egg substitute. This one, Puteria campesiana, is the tastiest one when fresh. The lucuma, for example, some people almost stoned me because I said lucuma is less tasty than caimito. This one is no, not caimito, then canistel. This one is the canistel. But I compared them in the fresh state. I said, yeah, you have to make them into smoothies or milkshakes. I did this for other videos, but unfortunately from time to time you get such haters who, I think they just want to hate. Don't say that the lucuma is a bad egg fruit. I just say that out of hand, the canistel is definitely much better. And up there are a lot more, well, a couple more fruits hanging. So my fat and protein intake for the next couple days is more than secured. The star fruit, not related closely to the star apple. It seems that it's not the healthiest fruit. It does things to your kidneys, so you shouldn't eat it in excess. Well, they don't look so appetizing right now, so I'll pass. You know fugu, the Japanese pufferfish that kills so many Japanese? Well, there is a plant pendant to it. Aki, a fruit popular in parts of West Africa and Jamaica. You cook it with fish usually. And if you cook it wrong, you die. And a lot of people die from ackee. I still haven't tried it. I think there are ways to try it in a raw state, but I'm a little bit reluctant because so many people do die. It's not like most of the other poisonous things. It sends you to the hospital, they pump out your stomach, you stay there for a day or two. No, usually you die. Flacourtia yangomas, one of those little tropical berry-like fruits. This one is even native to Malaysia. It's okay. It's not bad. It's a little bit tart, but this one was still also a bit hard. Tastes a bit like some type of plum. But most of those small fruits on the tropics, they're being overshadowed by the big, huge things like mangoes, jackfruit, durian. Because in Europe, small fruits, small berries are usually a lot tastier than the bigger things. Here in the tropics, the big things are often more tasty. Flacourtia inermis, a close relative. And yeah, this is the Rucam masam, but it's literally called the spineless Flacourtia. Bah. Forgot how sour this is. There is another one just as sour, but also spiny. Antidesma buneus, one of those fruits which are in a toxic family but still edible. It's in the Euphorbiaceae. And it tastes weird, sour and salty and weird. Not too bad. I would eat it if there was nothing else around, but I hope for better stuff. Oh, Kesuzu, the holy grail of all Borneo fruit foragers. You will never find this on a market because its shelf time is literally negative. It starts rotting well on the tree. It's like a jackfruit or champerak or tarap without the skin. And you can imagine something like this, as soon as it ripens, it's gone. You cannot bring it to the market. I foraged it a couple times in the jungle and on remote farms and in fruit collections like this one. It's not that the tree is incredibly rare. It's not in season right now. It's not that the tree is incredibly rare. It's just that if you don't go out and look for it, nobody will bring it to you. Here a very special treat. The sweet tamarind. This one is not ripe yet. First I couldn't believe it when I heard it, when I saw it on the internet. Tamarind is famous for being very sour. But okay, we had some rain at some time because those are rotten. Tamarind is very sour, but at the same time it's very sweet. So if you remove most of the sourness, this one seems to be good, not rotten yet. This one has just enough sourness to not be boring. Nice balance between sweetness and sourness. The traditional ones, the sourness totally dominates. Kpayang. Every part of this tree is poisonous, and many parts of this tree are being eaten. Yeah, that happens a lot of times. You can eat the young leaves and shoots. You can eat a bit of the giant fruits, which look more or less like durian without spines. But the big treat most people are after are the seeds. Wondering why I don't find any seeds on the ground, even if the squirrels have eaten them. They should still be... No, this is not a Kpayang seed. This is a river almond. Where does it come from? Well, okay, I don't find Kpayang seeds to show you. The seeds have to be leached in water for days or weeks after a special recipe, and only then can they become a tasty treat. Num 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 num. Actually, the name is just num num, but I like to say it a lot of times. It's a cauliflowerous fruit. It's a fruit tree around here. Most of those fruits are, well, most are flowering. Cannot find a ripe fruit for the taste test. That's what the fruits look like. They'll get about twice the size, and yeah, they are nice, chewy and sweet and a bit sour. They are okay, not a very exciting fruit, but not bad. Could this be the river almond or jungle almond? Not sure. I don't see them too often, and usually I recognize them by the fruits. The fruit is spongy. Those have been lying around for many months now. The fruit is spongy, so that it can drift downriver very far. And the seed inside, it's like a tasty unripe almond. Actually, you don't break them with a stone because it's spongy. It will just shatter into a mass, which will still hold together. You cut them in two with a parang or a hatchet, and then you can extract the tasty little almonds inside. Noni, the smelliest fruit in the world, but it's supposed to cure cancer. Anato. You remember? Are you as old as me? You still remember the time when this guy Columbus claimed he discovered America, and then he claimed the people living there had red skin? Yes, they do have red skin, but not naturally. They cover themselves with a sunscreen made from fat and anato. See, I already have a couple red spots on my fingers. Usually the anato fruit is red. Here is a yellow, more or less leucistic variety, but the inside is still colorful. That's also what gives cheddar cheese its color, and it's used in coloring in many different fruits. It's used in coloring in many different foods. Still a very important plant, and also you can do a lot of shenanigans with it. In parts of the Caribbean, for carnival, the black people, they paint themselves either black with pitch or red with anato, and then, well, when they are red, they run around and scream to every white, "Where are the Indians? What did you do to the Indians? Where are the Indians?" They mean the Redskins. No, not the team, and also not the people who make masala. They mean the natives of the Caribbean islands, which were genocided by the whites. But most of them, because they are blacks, they don't paint themselves with anato, but they paint themselves black. Yeah, black people painting themselves black, yes. I guess they are technically allowed to do blackface, but they don't just do blackface, they paint their naked body black. And then they rub against every white person, especially with fancy clothes. It's a mix of pitch and molasses and stuff you cannot get off your clothes. And then they say, "Oh, you think you're better than me? Look, you're just as black as me now." Yeah, it's a nice tradition left over from the times of slavery. One of the very few ways those enslaved people were able to protest. One of the few ways which were accepted by their overlords. And it's kind of nice that it has survived well into the 21st century. That's why on some Caribbean islands around Carnival, you can find a lot of anato in the grocery stores. Are you a princess? Because if you aren't, that fruit ain't for you. This is actually an oneshi. It's the keppel fruit. Only princesses of the royal house of Yogyakarta are allowed to eat it. It's supposed, well, it smells quite nicely, but it's supposed to taste very boring, but it removes your body odor, and it's also a temporary contraceptive. I guess only Only princesses are allowed to smell nice and fuck around. Well, normal people, they have to be chaste and smelly. But I never managed to find ripe fruit, so I've nibbled the unripe fruits a couple times. Here we only have rotten fruits. I'm still waiting to try it and to start smelling like a princess. And no, I cannot use this thing to become promiscuous. Apparently, while the smell effect works for men and women, the becoming infertile temporary only works for women. Enjoying the local Tenom coffee. Yeah, Tenom has a domestic coffee production. It's the only place in Borneo as far as I know. I've talked a lot to the people of Sarawak to start something like this. Oh, maybe in Sabah, in the Kundasang area, they could have something. Well, coffee is a very important thing for several reasons. First, everybody is drinking coffee, except for those people who are drinking tea. Second, around here in the mountains, often the road system is very bad. So oil palm or durian is not an option for some people in very remote villages. But light, expensive stuff like black pepper or coffee is. Fortunately, they've started already coffee experiments in the state of Sarawak, the other Malaysian state here. Here in Tenom, coffee has quite an old tradition. And yeah, when visitors come somewhere, they like to drink their local coffee. Also, they like to drink the local coffee or wine or beer or whatever from the area. But also a lot of the locals like to drink the local coffee. For that reason, I think coffee production here in Borneo should definitely be increased. I even once tried to hook up the coffee producing villagers of Rundum with a friend of me who had a coffee roastery in Germany. But turns out that all those import-export business is so complicated right now. His associate wrote me a very long explanation, apology email that import-export business is basically just for huge companies. So little farmers have to sell to huge companies. Those huge companies bring the coffee to a different country. Only just bringing it to a different country increases the price several times. And then small coffee roasteries and such like can profit a little bit on top of that. But the big profit from the import-export, unfortunately, only big companies can do it. Coffee, by the way, after petrol, is the most traded commodity in the world in dollars. More valuable than gold, more valuable than silver, more valuable than iron, more valuable than coal, more valuable than grains or rice. Number one is for decades has been petrol. Well, gas could get the number two soon, but number two for many decades has been coffee. Very important stuff. Let's straight to the ornamental gardens. Those also have a good number of fruit species, and important in the drought, they seem to be watered a lot more than the fruit orchard. So some things might rather be inclined to produce fruits here than in the fruit tree collection. Ginger fruits are highly valued, however, in this case, the yellow ones are more favored by the locals than the red ones. Also at Lingera, different at Lingera gingers are quite popular. You can eat the flower, you can eat the fruits, especially the seeds. You can also eat the young flower buds or the inside of the young leaf stems. However, it's a drought. At least they are producing a lot of flower buds, but they are not producing a lot of leaf stems. They are not producing a lot of new leaves. Here is one which is already too old to be eaten. Next to it, a different species of Ettlingera. The locals here in Borneo, they use dozens, maybe over all of the communities, maybe many hundreds of species of different gingers for food, for medicine, for spices. Gingers are really important here. I hoped for a couple chico zapote. Those are among the sweetest fruits in the world. However, even if I find something on the trees, it will usually be too hard and unripe. So I need to find something on the ground. Preferably something that has not been broken up. I think somebody has bitten into this one and then discarded it. Same thing seems to go for this one. Oh, look at all the nice traces of red teeth on this sweet fruit. One out of several banana collections here. This could be Musa textilis with his signature flower bud. However, the labels. Banana and Kana collection. Kana is also edible. I just learned that the Iban here in Borneo actually forage the fruits from time to time. Well, I'll assume that this is all Musa textilis. This one is definitely something different. It looks a bit like a Cavendish banana. The pseudostem has fallen prematurely. Fruit is not 100% ripe, but no. Already edible. What about the other bananas? A lot of really huge pseudostems, and here there are a couple species I've never eaten before. But again, not so many labels. And for now I don't see anything ripe around here. Also, I used to know the name of this cute little banana. What a pity, I forgot it. It was just in the library. I will have to find again the survey of the plant species of the park. It might not be complete, but they will have a lot of banana names I can work with. However, if the bananas are not ripe, even the names aren't getting me very far. This bunch, the fruits have already fallen. Aha, a bamboo growing amidst the bananas. Nope, yes it is a bamboo, but it's not growing. See the sickle on top? That's how you harvest banana flowers and fruits like a pro. We used to always chop down the whole pseudostem, but that's a lot of work. But with those sickles, they can save you a lot of trouble. Oh, what is this? Huge Costaceae or Singiberaceae growing here. Oh, seems to have a bunch of ripe fruits. Nah, dry and bitter and astringent. So many bananas which escaped me. The stain on the floor of a little pavilion points to a resource. Something is living in the top. I expected a couple bats to be hanging there, but no, it seems to be some sort of nest. Maybe some birds are living in there. However, this looks more like bat droppings. Maybe the bats were here in the fruit season and moved on. No bats in this pavilion either. Bats around here are totally considered a forageable resource. And surprisingly enough, even, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that even Islam considers them a halal animal fit for eating. Don't cite me on this, but double check it and tell me if it's true. But some Muslim people around here told me that yes, they are also allowed to eat bats. Even the cacti are looking less than fresh. Oh, cascabel, the beautiful and deadly suicide fruit. Cascabel is the name for the rattle of the rattlesnake, and this thing can be made into nice rattles for maraca and other things. And on the other hand, yes, the fruit is just as poisonous as a rattlesnake. Yes, I know rattlesnakes are venomous and the fruit is poisonous, but you get the point. So I said, beautiful, useful, very popular ornamental, but don't make the mistake and think that the fruits are edible. Here a rat made this mistake. Well, rats might survive it, or they might die, I don't know. What I know is that many people have died from this thing, so don't be a rat, don't eat it. What has covered this sign? Oh, it seems like there used to be... Well, I don't know, man. This smells of bitumen. I thought this would have been... I thought this could have been the nest of some honeybee. But it smells of bitumen. I don't know. I don't think somebody painted this with such a thick bitumen layer. Tell me what this could have been. The blueberry cactus, also known as Mexican blueberry, because it grows better than other... well, it traditionally grows better than normal blueberry in many Mexican climates. Here is one of the small fruits, but it's not blue, so it's not ripe yet. Let's see if you find the ripe. There is one up there which is almost ripe, but we're gonna leave it alone. It's too high. If I brush it down with a stick, I might lose it. Same thing goes for this little fruit over there. Here, a slightly different blueberry cactus. They seem to be very versatile. The fruits are much thicker. As you can see, most of the cactus collection is under a roof to protect it from excessive rain. Right now we might be in the dry season, but in the rainy season, the cacti will rot from excessive rain. Actually, with this one, you never know if a big part of it hasn't already rotted away. A lot of those small cacti have edible fruit. The rule of thumb with cacti is stay away from the stems. Those are those things here, the thick things. Also the things that look like leaves. They are also stems here. But the pancha stems, the leaf-like stems, the cladodes, you can eat them usually. But the rule of thumb is stay away from the stems, but you can usually eat the fruits. However, don't sue me if you get a mouth full of thorns because you ate some cactus fruits. Papayas growing in odd corners here and there. Gardeners must also eat, and they appreciate the big and tasty fruits. Here we have a type of rose apple, which is either a wild or an ornamental type. They are not too tasty as far as rose apples go, but hey, it's still a rose apple. I love the taste of rose apples. Actually, this one must have been really good. Most of the ones on the tree are too unripe, so you better stick to the ones which are on the ground. Oh, no, look over there. A branch with nice perfect ripe. Oh, see the red weaver ends? Be careful with those. They will defend their tree to the death. Oh, but look at this. Taking everything back. This might still be an ornamental variety. But the fruits are delicious. Despite being called the Malayan apple, and originating from Malaysia, it's actually quite hard to find it on the markets here. But another interesting thing is, this thing comes from here, from Malaysia, from the equator. But I saw it successfully growing and fruiting as far north as southern France. This is the same geographical latitude as Canada or Russia. Come on, little baby, let me save you. Rose apples. I'm in heaven. The flesh is still and dry, but the rose flavor is what makes it so delicious. Those tiny white pineapples, I think they are Ananasoides. They're incredibly spiny, even much spinier than Ananas commosus, the normal pineapple. They are ornamental. Nobody is harvesting them. Here you see the desiccated fruits. They are not bad. They are just much smaller than normal pineapples. And taste-wise, the normal pineapple, I would say, is better than them. But as an alternative pineapple, they are good. But the most important part is still the fruit tree collection. Remember, I have 2 complete days, maybe 2.5 days, without anything else from the outside apart from water, coffee. Yeah, and I could get all those salty crackers. Well, when I asked for food, she said I have only junk food. That's true. Those salty crackers can be of some use in a survival situation. Firstly, most of them are so dry that you can use them to light a fire. And also they contain a lot of salt, which is not very healthy, but here in the jungle, in a rainforest climate, in an inland area, where you are sweating, and yes, even if it's dry like now, you are sweating a lot, you're losing a lot of salt, so those crackers could be important to replenish your salt. But my body doesn't react too well to junk food, so I'm gonna stay away from them. Syzygium aromaticum, the clove. Here it is. Don't underestimate spices. This one is a little bit too hot and too aromatic, but spices are very important. Yes, I know those originally the plants wanted, well, the purpose of the plants, it sounds so human. The plants wanted to deter you by those super strong tastes, but some of those spices have some positive effects on you, and also they can make you gobble down things you would never be able to keep down without a spice. So spices can be important in a survival situation. Just always remember, what we consider as a spice is usually a poison the plant produces to deter us from eating it. Huge kedundong tree, most of them stay very small here. Well, the people around here, they eat the kedundong fruit unripe, like many other fruits. But I like them ripe. And the good thing is, nobody's gonna compete with me for them, because the locals would consider those ripe fruits already spoiled. They want the completely green and crunchy ones. But those are nice and sweet. And with the strange kedondong flavor. The kedondong tree is hollow. And actually last time I sunk in one place there was a root in the ground that I sunk in because the root had rotted away somewhere around here. Have to be careful. Also, as you can see, a lot of animals have chiseled away at the stem. Also, it's producing some sort of sap. Please tell me if kedondong sap is useful for something. Can you use it as a chewing gum? Never eat stuff if you don't know whether it's safe. But yeah, it's chewy, it's not sweet like the fruit, but also look, termites have made a nest in the tree. That means its days are counted. And here, maybe a woodpecker or somebody else has chopped away the bark to get at the grubs inside. Grubs are a great survival resource, and they are a main food source of the people in Borneo. A very expensive food source if you buy them on the market. The Ceylon gooseberry, another one of those little berries around here. This one is from South Asia. Let's find the ripe one. I don't like the flavor too much. It's a strange flavor, a bit of sourness, no sweetness in this one. Not my favorite. This is one of my favorites. However, it's not in season. It's flowering. And there are fruits lying on the ground. Langir, a very tasty Borneo fruit with a very important second use. The rind, well, when harvested from the fresh fruits and dried, is a powerful soap. Actually, my friend Ringus from the Bidayu people told me before they had soap available, they would collect a lot of Langir fruits, actually throw away the tasty animal flesh because it's difficult to preserve, and just bring the rind with them to have soap for the time when this thing is not in season. I asked them, why do they throw away such a nice fruit? And they say, well, we need a lot of soap, and there are no good ways to make something out of the fruit, so we usually just collect the rind. I want the chocolate pudding fruit, but they are hardly ever in season when I'm here. Here are a couple already rotten ones. The problem with the fruit whose insides look like chocolate pudding is that once it rots, it actually does not look very different from when it's just ripe. Okay, yeah, even when it's good to eat, it looks more or less like this, but yeah, guess what else looks like chocolate and smells exactly like this? Blah. Wait, what is this stuff lying on the ground here? Huh? It's coming from here. It's cauliflorus. I have no idea what this is. Hey, where's the name? Where's the label? Where's the name tag? What is it? Actually, there is a small part I could theoretically nibble. Smells very aromatic. Very sour and aromatic. What is it? Let's try to get a hint from the seeds. Big seeds. What can this be, folks? Okay, so finally I tasted the Diospyros Tippenhorstii, an overripe half-rotten one, but now I have an idea what it tastes like. Maybe we can find another potential resource in the old Diospyros nigra tree. Somebody told me they are 30 years old, but I cannot believe it. They are like almost 2 meters thick. No, here I cannot find this particular resource. Nope. What about this one here? It's already hollow. But no. Don't worry. I know other trees around here. I'm looking for the hives of the tiny stingless honeybees or Madukelulut. Well, we have a big collection of managed beehives of Madukelulut here in this park, and I also found some wild ones. Big Garcinia collection here. However, whenever I come, they're usually at the end of their season and the fruits don't really taste typical. Here one which is very productive. I don't know why this one is called Garcinia dulcis, or the sweet mangosteen. It's also called the yellow mangosteen, but the Latin name is dulcis. It's not sweet. It's pretty sour. I've had super ripe ones which were a bit sweetish, but nothing. This one is also okay, but nothing which could justify the name dulcis. It is easier to cultivate than the purple mangosteen. I've seen it all the way to the Canary Islands. I think it's even possible to cultivate it in southern Europe. While the purple mangosteen is an ultra-tropical. I don't think you can cultivate it north of Thailand. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this one, taste-wise, it's also very different from the purple mangosteen, because in this one you can eat all the flesh, not just the aerials. But correct me if I'm wrong, taste-wise it's definitely inferior. But if you look what the ground under the yellow mangosteen looks like, that's what all of the Tenom fruit collection looks during fruit season. You are basically walking through a sea of rotting fruits, which is good. Also very important, a couple years ago they had started to collect all the dry leaves. And then I was here with the old director who created this park, with Anthony Lamb, the guy who unfortunately passed away. And he was very upset about this. I'd explained to them that, oh, you cannot do this. In all big Malaysian botanic gardens like Putrajaya or Perdana or other such parks, they collect the leaves from the fruit collections, and so in the poor equatorial soils and the rainy equatorial climate, there are not enough nutrients in the fruit tree collections for the trees to produce fruits properly. So those great fruit tree collections in the bigger botanic gardens are usually devoid of fruits, more or less. In Singapore, for example, they leave the leaf litter on the ground and put signs why they leave it. And it seems that they are listening to Anthony Lamb, because they stopped collecting the leaf litter. This is not trash, folks. Those are important nutrients in the leaves, in the dead branches, in the fruits. Those are nutrients which need to stay here if you want your fruit collection to thrive. Here I'm seeing a very valuable resource. It's called the wild beetle pepper, although I usually see it around farms and houses. It looks kind of wild when it is in old fruit forests. Very important plant. You chew a little bit of a leaf and put it on any bleeding wound, and it stops the bleeding. Very efficient, very important herb to know, because here in this climate even the smallest cuts and bruises can can get infected. Parasites, even big worms, can crawl inside your body through those. So, yeah, know the local herbs. They will help you a lot. Garcinia troviridis, Assam gelugor. Assam is their name for every sour fruit. Those are not the fruits, those are the beautiful flowers. The flowers actually also sour and tasty. The fruit looks a lot like Garcinia cambogia fruit, but I would say it's even better. Since Borneo has had the destruction of its jungle at unprecedented speeds, for decades Malaysia and Indonesia have been the countries with the highest rate of jungle destruction in the world. It's important to collect fruit trees even if you are not sure about the species. Garcinia sp. You find this sp in many publications about tropical plants. There are so many species you cannot identify everything, and not everything has been described. In a publication about temperate plants, it would be considered a little bit embarrassing that you failed to identify something. But here in the tropics it's so common that, yeah, they are not embarrassed about it. It's good that they collected this stuff. Encala, the Borneo avocado. It's not an avocado, it has pink fruits which you have to soak in hot water, and then they are kind of fatty and soft, and usually mix them with other things, especially with sago. Actually, this stuff mixed with sago seems to be the staple of the Melanau people in the coastal areas of Muka in Sarawak. Oh, next to it, Dabai, the Borneo olive. It's also not an olive, but it's a black elongated fruit which you cannot eat fresh and which is very fatty. You also put it in hot water. You don't boil it, just put it in hot water like you do with some tea, and it will become really tasty, just like the Borneo avocado. The loquat, a subtropical fruit which has become kind of adapted to the climate around here. It's cool that they managed to grow it even in equatorial lowland rainforest climate. It's not so important to have this one here because they have so many other fruits. It's much more important to grow it in temperate areas because it fruits very early, like January, February in subtropical areas, May to June in Germany. There are not many fruits which ripen in May in Germany, so I would say it's more important to have this adapt to colder climates, but it's also good to adapt it to hotter climates. The Tahiti chestnut. Not exactly sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you need to heat this, to boil or roast it. I think it's poisonous unripe. It's out of season, but with a lot of those nuts and seeds you don't know. Sometimes you can even use very old ones. Here is one out of season one which fell. It's possible that it even fell prematurely. Chenkol, an incredibly smelly bean growing on a tree. This one is not even ripe. You eat the seeds, the beans inside the pot, but it's not supposed to be good for your kidneys, so I don't eat it. Cashew apple. Rarely seen ripe cashew apples in Southeast Asia. I think I've never seen ripe ones in Borneo, and I've seen very few trees in Borneo. It's more a thing of seasonal climate with a dry season. It's very common as an invasive plant in large parts of Cambodia. Cashew apple, well, it's a relative of mangoes and poison ivy, and it has a tasty fruit like a mango. It also has a tasty seed. Usually in the West we mostly get the seed dried and roasted, but it is, I would say, more dangerous than poison ivy because you usually do not eat poison ivy. Around the seed there is a layer of fat, there is a layer of oil which is incredibly toxic. So even processing, not just eating but even processing, being in close proximity with the seed before it's been peeled can be very dangerous for you. Cannot demonstrate it to you because it's flowering right now, not in season. Pineapples. I don't see a single ripe one. Dragon fruit. Yes, dragon fruit is a cactus, but it's flowering right now. All the other tasty stuff I'm used to. Duku, mangoes, lychees. Here the purple mangosteen. Not in season. Yeah, see, that's where all the duku and all the rambutan is. Actually, some of the duku shells look quite fresh. Anything on the tree? Quite fresh, but still already finished. Remember, folks, apart from the sugar in my coffee, I will not get any outside nutrients for 2.5 days. It's not survival, I'm fat enough. But, let's go get the parag. 3 edible bananas on this one. Well, there were some birds on it. I don't know if I'll be back in time before they finish it off. Here another bunch of bananas, almost ripe. And low enough so that I can get them by hand. Let's see, let's get 1 or 2 of the ripest ones. One. I think even one day will make a bit of difference with those. I like my bananas, like I like my coffee. Let's not say anything wrong here. Sweet. This one already cracked open, so to pie. See the tree shrew, which most people call squirrel around here. My biggest competitor. Despite this banana, this seems to be, what was the name of this banana, which is quite bright white inside? Was it Pisang Suzu? Not ripe, but already splitting apart. Not a good combination. Good that I got it. Another variety of star fruit here. Crescentia cuyete, the tropical calabash. The fruit is poisonous, but you can eat it in small amounts. And more important, you can make it into tasty cough syrup. It's a more substantial bananas here. Those couple half-ripe ones are not gonna keep me well fed. There are a lot of bananas here, but very few fruit bunches. Those tall ones are Pisang Kapok. And see the next variety. Those are not younger plants, they are just a different variety. The coconuts here on the ground are too ripe for eating, but are too ripe for drinking, but I might try to open and eat some of them. 3 more bunches of bananas, which will be ripe soon, but soon doesn't get me anywhere. See this one? The last ripe fruits have dropped. Let's see if there is anything edible on the ground. Some animal has been at them. Yeah, peeled them open, bit them. Nah, not desperate enough to eat the scraps from a rat's table. And if there were no coffee in the kiosk, there are enough coffee cherries around. Probably too lazy to make coffee out of them, but even nibbling at the cherries gives you the same effect. This bunch looks totally harvestable to me, but I need a parag. What are those super fat bananas? Unripe except for one, which has already been hollowed out by some animal. What about this bunch? Strange. It's kind of part of them are overripe and rotten, part of them are unripe. Also, what is this stuff here? It seems to be one particular variety. Bananas are not seasonal. But I'm finding only one fruit bunch with well over 100 pseudostems. Should be several bunches here. Oh, there is a second one over there. Oh no. Yeah. Too late, too late. About a week. Too late. There is nothing I can save here, but see all the spineless honeybees? We're gonna visit their hives now. See the squirrel holes in the coconuts? But there are a couple on the ground. If you have something like an axe or a parang or even a hammer, you can break open a lot of such coconuts, and if you know how to do it, most will be bad, but a couple might be good. Not good to drink anymore, but maybe still good to eat. However, as I said, most will be bad. If you don't want to open so many bad coconuts, there is a hack. Feral passion flower hanging full of hundreds of fruits, but they are all unripe. I don't see a single ripe fruit here. The sago tree. If you want to feed a lot of people here in the tropics, that's your best friend. You get one of those big pseudostems. Inside each one of them there should be about 1 ton of good quality sago. It's a lot of work to process this thing, but 1 ton of sago, that's like 1 ton of rice or 1 ton of wheat. And you get it from one single tree. And in coastal swamp areas, millions, billions of those grow around here. In the area of Muka, they still have quite a big sago industry based on those things. Also, if you are too lazy to process the sago, you cut one of those things down, especially now in the dry season, and wait for a couple months till the huge sago worms develop inside. Those sago worms are very expensive and they seem to be very tasty. People around here eat them, sometimes fried, sometimes alive. Here are the hives of the spineless honeybees. There are basically 2 types of very important bees around here. The big, giant sting bees and the tiny, stingless honeybees. However, wait, this looks like something different. Those look a little bit similar to European bees, not familiar. Those are not normal Madukelulut. Those are Madukelulut. Those are the spineless honeybees. And what is this here? I'm confused. The spineless honeybees are small and black, and they usually make those funnels at their hives. But those things here, they look like minuscule European honeybees. Yeah. Nobody is cultivating the giant sting bees around here, which produce enormous amounts of honey. But the spineless honeybees, they are being cultivated a lot. You find one of those funnels somewhere, you take out your chainsaw, it's usually hanging out of a tree. You cut the area around this tree, around the funnel, that's where the nest is. Then you put it on such a post, and then you make such a lid on top of it. Let's carefully lift the lid. I will not lift the plastic, so I will not disturb the bees. Well, unfortunately you cannot see anything through the plastic, but I don't want to interfere with the beekeeper's work, so I will not remove the plastic. If I see the beekeeper, I might ask him to remove it for me to film. And then you will see that those bees, their honey is not in honeycombs like normal bees, but in walnut-sized little containers. And the honey is also quite liquid and quite sour. Yes, it's mostly sweet, but also very sour. Every honey is very sour, but with this dwarf honeybee honey, you taste the sourness a lot more. And you basically take a little straw and suck it out like from a lot of tiny shot glasses. Yeah, they're about the size of shot glasses. But this is how you find the honey, the nests of the spineless honeybees. Those little funnels. They can be a lot of different shapes and sizes, but you will always recognize them. Also here they moved to a part of the structure which was not totally intended, but they are still inside. So it's okay for harvesting the honey. No jackfruit over there this time. Also this huge rambutan plantation. The ground is covered with old black shriveled up rambutan fruits, but I don't see a single one on the branches. This jackfruit tree is producing nicely and somebody wants the fruits. Asians like to cover fruits in plastic bags, either in paper or in like watertight plastic bags or in those big bags. It protects the fruit from bruising and also from different animals. It's not a perfect protection, but if you see those bags on some fruit, even somewhere where you think it's not private, that means that somebody is claiming this fruit, taking care of it and wanting to harvest it. Let's see. No smell. So those are all too unripe anyways for fresh consumption. Right now in this state you can totally make them into curries. They don't have a lot of flavor when they are unripe. When they are ripe, they are really tasty. They don't have a lot of flavor when unripe, but they have a lot of bulk. And in this bulk, there are also nutrients. So if you mix them with a lot of tasty stuff like coconut milk and curry powder and some tasty fruit or veggie or meat or fish if you are a meat eater, you can make a curry, and basically most of the bulk will be this stuff, but the taste will come from other things. Then, of course, the ripe fruit. You know how to eat a ripe jackfruit, I think. You eat only the annuals. But even something like this is still very valuable. You see the seeds? The fruit might be rotten. Look at those huge maggots. Oh, just look at the size of those maggots. Boy, it's smelling like a fermenting old-fashioned toilet. Boy, yeah. But still, you can wash the seeds and then cook them, and they will taste like chestnuts. So even such a rotten jackfruit can provide you with enough sustenance in a survival situation. Oh wait, there is some langsat still hanging on this tree. Oh. However, they are discolored, dried and shriveled up. Not edible anymore. Pity. Maybe this one fruit? It's what I would consider duku. Very thick rind. No, it's not good anymore. Pity. Here also another durian collection, but I don't think anything will be in season. Here we have the Mauritius Sisyphus. Even this thing, which is almost a wheat in drier areas, is not in season. Yeah, here we have, this is called the medicinal garden, but for some reason there are still many edible things around. Tasty kedundong, a lot of pomelos, durians, which have no fruits right now. Yeah, even this medicinal garden will provide you with many edible things. Yeah, but for now, well, terong pipit is quite tasty, but only if you have the means to cook it. Don't feel like pomelos right now. Oh, sweet potatoes. Every part of this plant is edible, not just the tubers. Makota deva here is a medicinal fruit, this red stuff. Don't eat it, except if the doctor prescribed it to you. But the yellow kedundong, the locals might tell you that those are overripe and not fit for human consumption anymore. However, that's how I like them. Nice and sweet. Phew. Phew. More miracle fruit. And mulberries are in season. You don't eat the purging nut here. Don't eat the stinky noni. But the tasty mulberries. Again, those black fruits are actually fruits of the white mulberry, a warm temperate species. Which was adapted to equatorial climate. Here another cashew apple, but I don't see any cashew apples, only a couple flowers. Okay, I couldn't catch this in time. A monitor lizard. The species around here, the banded monitor lizard, is actually longer than a Komodo dragon, but not as massive. Oh, they did repair this bridge recently, but now they closed it. Also, there used to be another restaurant here. They are slowly recovering after COVID, but still, usually there are a lot more gardeners in the park than visitors. That's not unusual for Malaysian parks managed by the government because they don't really advertise the parks too much. Let's see, Garcinia spicata, another mangosteen relative, the so-called garlic tree. Fruits are not particularly good, but I could spot only a couple unripe fruits so far.